Good afternoon. Really good to see the screen, all of our colleagues' faces, albeit not in person. I do appreciate you all being here today. This has been a really good week for JMU athletics. It's especially a great day to be able to name a new basketball coach who we just really think the world of, and I think he's going to be an incredible addition to our athletic program. I want to first start off by thanking President Alger, our Board of Visitors Rector, Mary Beth Harrod, and also Roger Sangston. Each of these three individuals have been very helpful to us in every one of the searches that we've done to take time and spend with our candidates and talk to them. And I think this year it's even probably more important that we have a strong university voice from the university, obviously, given President Alger's departure here in June. So I do want to thank each of them. When you have an athletic program that's reached the heights of where we are today, we're going to have coaches that are attracted to other institutions, certainly those that are above us. And much like was the scenario when we all gathered around the campus last fall or late fall, early winter with football, where we announced Coach Chesney. We've now repeated that with men's basketball. And I do want to especially thank Mark Byington. What Coach Byington and his staff did over the last 4 years at JMU is truly remarkable. And where they have brought our program to today and the accomplishments and accolades that we're able to stand on really was because of a lot of their hard work. So I really do appreciate their work. I'm wishing them the best of luck and success at Vanderbilt, but I do want to take time to celebrate that because without it, I'm not real sure that we'd all be here today. I think when you go into a search like this, it's really important that you've done your homework ahead of time. You've identified your candidates. You continue to track them and look at them. And searches like this, obviously, in my opinion, were incredibly efficient and they were very productive. And a lot of that, I think, is due in part to the work of our internal search staff, which are the members of my staff that really helped us identify candidates and do the research. And I just want to thank them for all their work and the time that they spent helping us get to where we are today. We're in a really unique environment. I mean, college athletics is changing. You wonder how things are going to go, but we were really blessed to have an incredibly strong group of candidates for this search. I mean, it's one of those that you get down to the end and say, I don't think we can go wrong any direction we go. And when you get to that point, you obviously are looking to optimize your situation. How can you hire your top pick? How can you hire the top coach that you think is going to come in and keep the culture where it needs to be and build on what is already a really successful program? And Preston Spradlin and his staff are the right people for this job. And I cannot think really of a better person at a better time than him for JMU. He's a coach's, he's a player's coach. He has a very close tie with his staff, their families, our players' families. To me, he stands for everything that we've always stood for in athletics at JMU, and certainly a person that we want to have on our staff as we move forward. So, we're ecstatic this afternoon to introduce Preston as our new head coach, and we're glad to have his wife Misty and his family join the JMU family. And with that, I'm going to turn the mic back over to Kevin and would be available for any questions that you might have a little bit later in the interview.
Great, thanks, Jeff. And with that said, we will turn things right over and extremely excited to introduce the new men's basketball head coach at James Madison University, Preston Spradlin.
Well, thank you guys so much. I've got to, certainly give Jeff quite a shout out here for allowing me to fulfill a commitment to my family and be here with them. And I would tell you that's very streamlined with everything that has drawn myself and my family to make the decision to come there to JMU. And so I know that's not necessarily the norm. And I want to go ahead and get it out of the way right now. Nobody's got to call me Coach Spradlin. I got a hard last name. I get it. It's difficult. Let's not make it weird. Coach P would be just good enough. Right. We're going to do that with the players as well. But first of all, I want to thank everybody at JMU because from the moment I got the first phone call, Zoom calls, visiting, all of that, every single person that I've come in contact with has just given me the warmest welcome and has really made me feel that this was the right place and the right decision. Obviously, from President Alger to Jeff Bourne, to Jeff Poglaze, who got to spend a lot of time with in person there, and the Board of Visitors and all the administrative staff, which I was just unbelievably impressed with and continue to be during this transition. I just want to thank each and every one of you for that. I've got to thank my folks back at Morehead State and our community of Morehead. I've got a wonderful president there and Dr. Morgan, athletics director Kelly Wells, our board of regents who I'm extremely close with, and certainly an administrative staff. But none of this would be possible if it weren't for my coaches that I currently have and have had over the years, the players and their families, the community that we've been very fortunate to be a part of for the last 10 years and to be ingrained in and raise our family while we've built our program. And a lot of people would say, why JMU? We found so many similarities between the things that we love and we value in Morehead and the quality of life that we have. We've been able to find all of that in Harrisonburg and in JMU in a very short amount of time. And so Jeff and his staff and just everyone connected with the program deserves so much credit. And again, goes back to the decision of Jeff saying, hey, you've got a commitment to your family to go and do a trip with them. I've got 2 young children. My son is 11, Bentley. My daughter is 6. And as all of you know, when you're having success, as you've experienced there at JMU, the season is extremely long, especially when you make it to the big dance. You have an opportunity to win a game, as Mark and his staff did. And then once you fast forward to the spring, it is relentless when it comes to roster turnovers and recruiting and all of those things. And so I'm confident that we're still going to be in a great spot with that, but I'm extremely appreciative of the fact that I was still able to do this. And I thank all of you guys for being on here today. Leaving our home of Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, and Morehead most specifically was the most difficult decision that I've ever made. And so we didn't take that lightly. It came with a lot of prayer, a lot of discussion, and a lot of thought. And the things that put that to ease and really gave us the discernment and the confidence that we were making the right decision were the people. And that's what we love about the place that we've been. And we've built a program the last 10 years, and we see so many similarities with that there at JMU. Obviously, when you're in the coaching carousel, there are a lot of different factors. And just like in recruiting with players, and I would tell you, we sit in front of recruits and we tell them, go where you're wanted. And I very much appreciated the fact what Jeff shared with you, that he and his staff through the search process pursued myself and the values and the things that we do to build a basketball program and recruited us to that. And so the same advice that, we've built our program with and given that to young players and their families as the same advice that I gave myself when deciding that this was the right time and this was certainly the right place for us to move to. The timing of this is great. A lot of people would say, look at it and say, wow, you're taking over a team that, just won an NCAA tournament game and a program record 32 games and all of these things. Why JMU right now? That's going to be a tough act to follow. We want all that pressure. We want all of those things because there are so many great things going on, not just within the basketball program at JMU, within athletics and at the university that we want to be a part of. And we want to be able to come in and capitalize on all of that momentum, the support that's there right now. And we want to come in and give our own style to it and the way that we coach our team, the way we develop them. And so I think the foundation, the resources, the momentum, the excitement, all of those things are in place right now. And so I look at that as a huge upside to coming in. With that, there are going to be a lot of high expectations. And the competitor in me is extremely excited about that opportunity as well. But the coach in me takes a look at the resources, the support, the foundation, and the momentum. And I'm confident that we can meet those high expectations. And we look forward to meeting that challenge that's already set ahead of us. It's a totally different situation than what I took over 7 years ago. Just the difficult circumstances at Morehead State. And so I'm excited about the opportunity that, we get to come in and there is momentum. 7 years ago when I took over, we had a complete rebuild. We had a lot of behind the scenes things that made it difficult to flip a roster and to rebuild your program in a hurry. A lot of those things have changed now within the college basketball landscape, and the situation is totally different. So I've been at a program and built it, and I'm proud of the way that we've built it to get it to the point where it is right now. However, I'm excited to walk in the door, and JMU is going to be the biggest game on everybody's schedule. We will continue to be the premier program in the Sun Belt. Everyone within this league is going to circle the game that they get at their place against our team. It will be their biggest crowd. It will be their biggest promotion. It will be the rowdiest they will be. We will get everyone's best shot. And that's where we built our program here at Morehead State, and that's where I'm excited to continue to take the program there at JMU. And so that's a great challenge as a competitor. And the work that we've done at my previous spot has certainly prepared myself and our staff for all of that we're going to see there at JMU. So we're extremely excited about that. Getting everyone's best. Spent 5 years at the University of Kentucky, and so certainly understand those expectations and look forward to that challenge here. And this is an unbelievable place. It was going to take more than just a professional decision for us to leave our home and to come here. But we really feel like we can make a home there in Harrisonburg. We really feel like that we can serve our purpose as a staff, to not just have a winning program, but to have great people, to see guys graduate, to recruit high-level, high-character individuals and student athletes that want to be a part of the JMU nation and JMU culture for all the right reasons. And we're looking really forward to hitting the ground running and building it back and getting to all of those places that you've enjoyed over the last few years.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll jump right into Q&A for either Jeff Bourne or Coach Pete. So if you can use your raise hand function on Zoom, and I'll call on folks, and we will start with Mike Barber from the Richmond Times-Dispatch.
Hey, Preston, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
I do have serious questions for you, but I wanted to ask you first, where is this vacation and who planned it?
You know what? I actually planned it. My family and I, we went to the Final Four last year, and it was the first time that we had taken our family down to Houston, and we kind of split it. We did half of the days in Houston and half of the days at Galveston. And I looked around during those 3 days in Galveston, and I said, this is pretty nice, getting a chance to be with our family and enjoy this before the chaos of recruiting and the portal. And so, we asked our kids what they wanted to do this year. And they said, we'd like to, get as far away from basketball for about 4 or 5 days as we can. And so we're down here in Naples enjoying that. And I'm very thankful my wife is allowing me to continue to work and do the things that I need to. But again, appreciative to Jeff and his staff for agreeing to let us do this.
Awesome. In the more serious business, and Jeff, if you could weigh in on this also. Preston, you laid out all the reasons why JMU. I think a big question about JMU, though, would be you don't have an AD in place, you don't have a president in place. Some people might feel uncomfortable kind of jumping into that unknown. How did you approach that? And then, Jeff, if you would address kind of how you thought that played into this situation.
Honestly, Jeff did an unbelievable job in the very first conversation that we had. Obviously, he addressed the elephant in the room as he referred to it before I even had a chance to ask the question. And, at the end of the day, there's so many great things going on at JMU. And certainly Jeff is responsible for most all of that and his staff. And I'm sure he will defer to his staff and how wonderful they are and give them a lot of credit. And so, the culture there, I don't think you can have a men's basketball press conference without mentioning culture, right? I got to say that as many times as possible. But the culture there is unbelievably strong and impressive. And so they relayed to me and assured me that the work that Jeff and his staff have done is going to continue, and that's going to continue through the process of finding the right person to lead the athletics department. And so I felt very at ease with that. And then they did a wonderful job of introducing me and connecting me with all the other folks that are going to be there and that have real pride in that university. So I don't see any of that changing. And I feel very good about how that transition is going to take place because of the people that are in charge of the decisions.
Jeff?
Boy, you've hired the right person when they take every word out of your mouth, right? Basically, yeah, Coach P just called it the way that I would have said it. Yeah, I want to give a lot of credit to our staff. We are here today, and we've done what we've been able to do because people have worked really hard, stayed around, and believed in what we've done. And we've built a phenomenal culture. Credit to the university overall, but I seriously mean this. Good programs are a lot bigger than two people, and I can say that for myself, and I'll say it for President Alger. The good news is I feel like we've left a really good legacy back for people to build on, and I think the culture's in a fabulous place, and I'm 100% confident that those in charge of decisions are going to make great decisions for my position. They'll make great decisions for the president's position, and we will continue to not just do what we've done, we'll continue to get better. So I said in the beginning, I'm incredibly bullish on JMU now and in the future, but it's our culture and hiring to that culture that will make the biggest difference and allow us to continue to do what we've done and go beyond.
Thank you.
Let's go to Shane Metlin.
Hi, Preston. Shane from the News Record here in Harrisonburg. Xavier Brown, he made the announcement yesterday that he was going to come back, withdraw from the portal. Have you had a chance to talk with everyone who has that option to come back to JMU on the roster, and kind of just, what has trying to fill out the roster been like so far?
Well, yeah, I'll start with Xavier first. I can tell you my family and I began this trip to come down south yesterday, and I got a FaceTime from Xavier as he was walking back to the compliance office to let me know that he was on board, and that's a heck of a way to start the week, I can tell you, because I was really excited about that. We're working through connecting with everybody, and there's two sides to it. That's very important to me that I leave things in Moorhead in a good place, and obviously connecting with our players and recruits, and then doing the same thing here. And so we're continuously working through that. My staff is actually there now with kind of boots on the ground and getting face to face. And so we're working diligently to get through each and every one of those guys and make a contact with them. But at the end of the day, I really believe you have a successful program because you build it with people who really want to be there, and they want to be there for the right reasons. And we're going to be respectful of anybody, whether that's they do want to be here or they don't, and we're going to support them because that's the biggest key to all of this. And so making a connection with those guys, I think it's important for us to hear out, hey, why did you come to JMU? What has your experience been here? And like I said, you know, in the coaching business, throughout the coaching carousel, there's very few opportunities that you can walk in and you can hear a lot of positive, right? That things have been going really well. And so for us, it's almost like a cheat sheet, right? That these guys are letting us know, Coach, hey, here's why we've won here. This is why JMU is great. And I almost feel like via most of those conversations, I'm being recruited instead of recruiting them. That speaks to the culture and the identity and just the foundation that's at JMU, not only with the basketball program, but throughout athletics and the entire campus community. And so we're continuously doing that. We're having very real conversations with all of those people. But at the end of the day, we're going to make sure that what they want matches up with what our plans are. And we've got to be realistic that if it doesn't, that's okay, because I'm committed to getting people who want to be here and respecting that decision, whichever way that goes.
And the follow-up, since you mentioned your staff, have you gotten the entire staff in place, or are there still positions to fill?
You know, we're working on that. Just, I don't know from an HR standpoint where I can do that at the moment. I don't want to scoop ourselves on releasing all of that, but I will say that I've had an unbelievable staff that's been intact for a long time throughout our process at Moorhead. And so keeping those guys with us so that we can have the continuity and consistency that we've enjoyed over the years is at the top of our priority list right now. And so, you know, bringing those guys and bringing just the identity that we have as a staff and the chemistry is going to be vital to our success. So we're currently in the process of making that transition right now.
All right. Thank you.
All right, let's go to Jarvis Heron, TV3.
Hey, Coach, congratulations. I wanted to ask you, you've talked a lot about JMU's culture, but I also feel like when you were at Moorhead, you were very intentional about the culture you created there and the players you were looking to bring in. Can you kind of just talk about what kind of you value with the team? Because it seems like it was always a very family-oriented atmosphere when you were at Moorhead.
Well, I appreciate you being able to notice that from afar, because that's extremely important to me. And then we're going to bring that there to JMU. You know, we talk about guys who want to be there, right? You know, we've never walked players and their families in and just said, hey, look at our facilities, look at all this, isn't that great? And come here for that. You know, the caliber of player that we're recruiting, and we have recruited and will continue to, they're going to have tons of opportunities that where everyone has great facilities. They have all of those things. So what has always separated us and will continue is the relationship and the commitment. And that's very real. And so I'm a firm believer that good people become great players. And as important as it is for myself and my staff and my family to feel comfortable and to be ingrained in the community wherever we are, making that transition from Moorhead to now Harrisonburg, that's going to be the same thing with our players. And so we want to have players that everyone can be proud of, that they can be out in the community. You know, you've got the unique combination of high-level facilities and resources at a place like JMU, but at the same time, it is intimate. And that was a part of the draw. And so we're going to capitalize on that. We're going to recruit good people who we can put out in the community, that you'll have this fan base and media and people in the community, the student body will have an opportunity to get to know on a personal basis. That's important because people are going to support and they're going to give to what they can believe in. And it's our job to make sure that we're building a roster and constructing a team that has high character guys that we feel comfortable putting out in this community. And so that's important to me. I think as you talk about navigating and rebuilding right now, you know, whether I was staying at my previous place or I was coming here or any coach in the country right now, roster turnover, everyone has it. So everyone's dealing with that right now. And how you do that, there's a lot of different ways. But for us, even though the landscape of college basketball with, you know, NIL and portal and extra years of eligibility and all the many things is constantly changing, our philosophy and our integrity will not. We're gonna keep that at the top. And I'm a firm believer that every player who's entered the portal is just looking for something different than what they've had at their previous school. And so it's my job and my staff's to really peel back the layers and figure out if what they're looking for matches up with what we provide and what we're, needing to have a great program here at JMU. And so we'll do that homework, and we'll find the guys that are the right fit and want to be here for the right reasons. And that's exactly what we did over the years there at Morehead State that I'm very confident is going to continue the success here at JMU.
And then just one quick last one for me. I actually heard you in an interview a couple years ago, and I know how much you love coaching, and this is something you've always have wanted to do. You told a story though that kind of it was just very interesting how when you took over as the interim at Morehead, and you talked about going on like a 4 or 5 game winning streak, and then there was a game against Tennessee Tech, which you kind of took some responsibility for losing. I'm just curious if you'd be comfortable sharing that story with our viewers, because I think they'd be interested in it, and just kind of what you learned from that personally and how that made you a better coach.
Well, I really appreciate you bringing that one up, because you did your homework, and I've shared that story a number of times. I think probably the one you're talking about was on Sports Spectrum, and obviously a faith-based sports outlet that I was, very proud to be a part of. My faith is extremely important to me. It's how I lead my family and our program. And that interim season that I had was really difficult. We took over and a lot of difficult things happening. And so we were able to flip it and kind of turn the corner, because I did not make that season about me and getting the job. Okay. And that's a really hard thing to fight, the human nature for that. And I made it about our players. That year we had 7 seniors. And so I wanted to make sure that the time that they had at Morehead State, that their experience was going to be a positive one. And so every decision was honestly easy to make, because it was made with their experience in mind. And with that, we started to turn it. We started to have a lot of success. I believe it was 4 or 5 games we won in a row. And then you start hearing the outside noise, right? You start hearing everybody say, well, they should just give Preston a job and, go ahead and rip off the interim tag and all these things. And I had done a good job of distracting that or blocking that out rather, to get to that point. But then, human nature, seeks into all of us, especially when you're 29 years old and you open up your Twitter feed and you start to say, you know what, they're right. Maybe they should give me that job. And I'll never forget, I got humbled quickly. We played a game at Tennessee Tech, a game in which we probably should have won, and it came down to the wire. And I remember we needed to foul. We came out of a timeout, and we talked exactly about how Tech was going to run an out-of-bounds play to get it to the best free throw shooter. This is how we would strategize and take that away so that a poor free throw shooter would catch it. We executed it beautifully, and the guy who shoots about 50% caught the ball, and we looked at him, and we looked at him, and then we looked at him again. Then he throws it to a guy that shoots 90%, and we fouled him. Right. And so then the ball rolls over to me. I remember I'm squatted down, and the ball comes to me, and I pick it up and I go to slam it. And I really, truly, this is true, I meant to just kind of slam and hit it. I slammed it so hard it almost went to the top of the Hooper Eblen Center there at Tennessee Tech. And the ref just kind of looked at me, and he's like, man, I got to do it. So he teed me up. So we lose the game. It was a 1-point game. He teed me up. And it was at that point, the very first time I'd ever taken a game away from my players. And the lesson with that is I'd made things about myself in that moment. And so I remember the next day I brought all of my seniors in, and we met, and I apologized to them, and I promised that would never happen again. And that was a great life lesson that, coaching and leading is not about me. It's not about, serving my wants and my desires, because ultimately that's going to be a huge distraction from the purpose of serving the people that, I've got the ability to lead. And so I appreciate you bringing up that story. You did your homework on that. That wasn't on my list of stories to share, but I really appreciate you bringing that one up.
Thank you for sharing it.
All right, we still have a number of hands up, so let's move on to Dave Riggert, Harrisonburg Radio Group.
Congratulations, Coach. Looking forward to working with you. Talk about your style as a coach. What are your teams known for? I know you've had some good defensive numbers here recently, but I'm sure you learned a lot from Coach Cal with your time at Kentucky. But talk about your style of play, both offensively and defensively.
That's a great question. We're going to be an elite defensive team. Okay, how we get there, I don't know yet. Okay, that's just being honest. And so I think that gives you a chance to win every night. Okay. And no matter what your roster looks like, if you have an identity that's built on, getting stops and taking pride in it, it gives you a chance. And I think we're a great proof of that over the last 4 or 5 years at Morehead State. I'll give you an example with that, Dave, is, the last 3 years, not counting this past season, we had defended a certain way, right? We had switched 1 through 4. Our ball screen defense was top 20 in the nation, and we were hedging, and we had a very elaborate ball screen defense. We were a scramble team and all these different things. And so going into this past season, we were implementing the defense that had obviously been very good to us. And so we put it in all summer, and then we got to where we had a chance to do a close scrimmage against another team, and they beat our brains in. And it was very quickly, it was on a Friday night. I realized, man, we're going to have to change what we're doing with this team. It doesn't matter, what I like or what's been good. We can't just sit back and say, hey, you guys can't do the defense that I know. I got to learn something new. And that was, so 10 days after that, we opened at Alabama. And so in that 10-day span, we completely changed our defense, ball screen coverage, our switching, how we got through screens. And so we had to, as a staff, put our heads together, put a plan together of how we were going to break the habits we had built for 3.5 months and then instill some new habits, some very particular ones that were going to help this team in the long run, knowing that it might not help us in the first 2 weeks, but that's, it's a marathon. And so we completely changed all of that. But what doesn't change in terms of our defense, schematically, those things may change. Our standards do not. They really, truly don't. Our attention to detail, our effort, our energy, and our competitiveness, all of those things are going to be consistent no matter what type of defense that we're implementing. Our system we've come up with for teaching is going to apply to no matter what that is. And I'm really proud of that. I'm a firm believer. You can ask my 11-year-old son, what are the 2 ways of doing things? There's a right way, or you can do it again. And that's how we teach. We reset guys and we get it right. And then we challenge them to get it right so many times in a row that they build habits. And then we build a culture that they're going to hold each other accountable for all of those things. And so that's where it starts for us on the defensive end. Offensively, that's had to adapt. That's had to change. And I'm really proud of that. You look at 3 years ago. I'll say this. Over the last 4 years, we've been top 20 in the nation in assisted field goal rate. So we play efficient basketball. We don't take bad shots. It's not what we do. We share it. We've had guys who are in the top 15 and the top 5 in the nation in assists on our roster, 2 different players in totally different years and how we got there. 3 years ago, our best player was a 6'10" post player named Xavier Brown. He's All-American this season at Auburn, right? And it doesn't take it doesn't take a genius to figure out a guy like Xavier Brown probably needs to touch the ball every time down the court, right? And so the way we played accommodated that. He had the 10th highest usage rate of any player in the country in any position. Fast forward to the next year, we had to completely overhaul our roster via the portal. Our best player was a 5'10" guard named Mark Freeman. And our results were pretty much the same, not just with the wins, but our efficiency in which we played. Mark goes on to be the player of the year in the OBC at 5'10", and we never had a guy like him. You fast forward to this past season, Mark gets injured 2 weeks before the season begins. He's the obviously preseason player of the year. He's done. He doesn't play a second for us all year. We had to adapt. We had to change, and we were able to still keep the same efficiency on both sides of the ball and still produce the player of the year in the OBC, who was a 6'7", 240-pound NAIA transfer that could do a little bit of everything. So I would tell you the same thing that Dave, that we're telling recruits right now. I left the playbook in Morehead. Like, it's about players, right? And it's about playing efficiently, and it's about learning your team, building trust, and putting those guys in the best positions to showcase their strengths and minimize their weaknesses. People will say, man, they run a lot of stuff. They run a lot of sets. We do, but that's not my stuff. It's stuff that we come up with and we put in to accommodate our players. We've had guys that have been the top 5 in the nation in assists. Our point guard this past season at Morehead State was 16th in the nation in assists. They've got some strengths as passers, but they've got some deficiencies. And so we're going to make sure we put those guys in position to come off to the right hand as opposed to the left. Maybe their ball screens are coming off a pivot instead of a live dribble, whatever that may be. So I don't have a playbook and all these things, man. We're going to play the most efficient basketball that we can. And it's my job to put together the best team and roster that we can, going with the standards we talked about good people and all those other things. We'll figure out how to play with them efficiently, and that's going to translate to winning. I can promise you that.
Thank you, Coach.
Next is Hayden Hunley.
Coach, it's Hayden Hunley with the Breeze. First, I want to welcome you to JMU. I'd like to ask and take you back to Albany 2009. How did you, as a kid coming from Alice Lloyd College, get John Calipari to trust you and to bring on to his staff? And how much of your success do you attribute to coming from that coaching tree?
Man, that's a great question. Take a trip down memory lane. I'll start with this. I was like barely on the staff at Kentucky. Okay, we had a film room, and I was like tucked away over there. I ended up getting my start at Kentucky because of my 6th grade math teacher. Okay, you ready for this? And I'm just a firm believer that like God's going to put the people in your life to help you if your intentions are in line with Him. And so this is a great example of it to get my coaching career started. When I was a senior at Alice Lloyd, I would tell anyone and everyone what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do was I wanted to become a graduate assistant, get my master's, and start coaching in college. I honestly didn't care where that was. And so anyone I would run into, I would tell them that. And I believe you tell enough people that, someone's going to believe in it enough to help you. My 6th grade math teacher, a guy named Jim Bill Frazier, picks up the phone. He calls a guy by the name of Wayne Martin. Wayne Martin at that time was the president of the CBS affiliate in Lexington. Wayne picks up the phone and calls me. I meet with him, and he starts making some connections, and he just kind of gets me on, tucked away. I wasn't really on the basketball staff in the beginning at Kentucky. I was over in the film room, and you talk about a great challenge, man. I can't hook up a VCR. All right, it's everything I can do to get this microphone working for this Zoom meeting right here. And so I had to learn the technology piece. I had to do all of that. And I leaned on my work ethic and humility that when I was there at Kentucky, I was going to come early, I was going to stay late, and I was going to do any and everything that needed to be done. And so just with that mentality over the course of a year or two, I started to just get more and more duties, more and more responsibilities. And, there would be times that, the staff would say, hey, why isn't this done? And I would never have the approach to say, well, I don't know, it wasn't my job. I would always just say, hey, I don't know who was supposed to do it, but I would love the opportunity to try to do that moving forward. And so through that, I started to really carve out a niche for myself. And when that 2 years was over, I got my master's degree. Coach Cal asked me to be a part of his Dominican Republic staff. I had never been out of the country in my life. I had to get a passport and all those things. And I got a chance to travel to South America and coach professionals, 3 NBA players, get on the court, scout internationally, do all of those things. And it was that probably 60-day time frame and with Cal coaching the Dominican team that once we came back, my career path really changed because he kept me by his side and allowed me to really be a guy that could have some input, but also be a guy that could just absorb everything that he had done. And so that was kind of how it happened for me. And I'm very thankful for that because it was a wild journey that, really prepared me to be where I'm at right now.
I appreciate you sharing that. And just one more thing for you. I know you touched on this a little bit. How well acclimated would you say you are to the new age of NIL, and how do you just go about building seemingly an entirely new roster?
NIL wasn't really a part of what we do at Morehead State. And it's not necessarily going to be a part of how we recruit at JMU, just to be quite frank with you. I'm not going to get away from having people that want to be there for the right reasons. It's a part of the landscape now, but it's certainly not going to be the forefront of why we recruit. We're not going to get in bidding wars and all those things. I'll be honest with it, via the portal the last 3-4 years, I have had 0 NIL conversations with a recruit. And I would give my staff tons of credit for that because obviously they do the work ahead of time to fill players out and kind of see what they're looking for. And if, that's coming up in the first, conversation or two, that's just not on the right list of priorities for us, to be quite honest with you. I get it. It's part of the deal. I'm excited to embrace the resources and the ability to have some of those things at JMU, but it's not going to be the reason that we bring players, here to JMU. They're going to come for the right reason. They're going to come because they want to be a part of the championship program. They want to be challenged. They want to grow, not just as players, but they want to grow as men off the court. And so that's where it's going to start for us, and that's how we're going to, approach the NIL and the landscape that it's in right now.
Next is Thomas Gerganis.
First off, I appreciate Coach for coming on. I'm talking more about the defense. What did you like about last year's JMU team, especially in that performance against Wisconsin? A lot of people watched them force all those turnovers. What do you like about them being kind of all over the place? Are you gonna implement any of that and the coming teams?
I was so unbelievably impressed watching Mark's teams all year, and they did a masterful job, getting prepared for the NCAA tournament, and a really good team in Wisconsin. And so just impressed in watching their team play. It starts with the standard, right? It doesn't matter schematically what you're doing defensively. If you don't have the effort, you don't have the discipline and the accountability to apply that, then it's not going to work. And so, again, going into things that attracted me to be able to come in with the foundation that's here, that's a part of it, right? These guys know how to practice hard. They know how to compete. They know how to hold themselves and their teammates to a high standard. So walking in the door, we're going to be able to capitalize on that. Again, how do we get there? Schematically on the defensive end, we'll figure that piece out. But it's whatever it is, it's going to be met with an extremely high standard and a level of accountability that's going to come from my staff. And I'm excited that it's going to be welcomed from the players who are already, part of this program.
All right, let's go back to Mike Barber.
Yeah, Preston, you mentioned you've been at Kentucky, which as far as resources goes is probably up there as the king. You've been at Moorhead, which I think it's fair to say is not the king of resources. JMU, you're probably somewhere in the middle. What did you learn from those two other spots, and what are you hoping to take advantage of resource-wise at JMU?
Well, I can tell you I'm extremely excited to be here and walking around the facilities and seeing everything, meeting the staff. I mean, there's an army that Jeff has put together of just unbelievably qualified and sharp people that are so impressive with their respective areas of expertise. And so, we've done really well in recruiting at Moorhead, and we've got great things there as well, but we've done a great job of selling ourselves and selling the people, and not necessarily coming in and pointing to the resources and all these types of things. And so, what's the saying? Hey, the rabbit's got a gun now, right? So I'm excited to take what we do on a daily basis and have a few more bullets in the chamber to go with what Jeff and his staff have built, because it's certainly going to have a big impact as we are recruiting with all of these guys. And so, the things that I like that are similar from the Kentucky side of it is, there's a lot of pride in that Kentucky basketball program. And so there's a lot of that here as well. And so we're going to make sure that we conduct ourselves in that way. We're going to be appreciative and respectful of all those that have come ahead of us and all the work that's gone in to provide us with ultimately the best situation that any player at JMU has ever had. My guys are going to have it better than the guys did last year. The guys next year are going to have it better than the players that right now have it. And that's a great thing. But with that comes a lot of responsibility that if we're recruiting the right guys and we're making it about the right things, they're going to respect that. And I take that away from both places that I've been as well.
And Jeff, on that same topic, you've made hires to all sorts of different resource levels, right? And an old arena, a new arena. What's it like hiring / recruiting a coach with what you have now, facility and resource wise?
Well, it's very different. I mean, when you open a search and you look at the quality of the candidates that are out there, basically at any level. I mean, you guys know this. We're good across the board in all sports. So we do have the benefit of a deep pool of qualified coaches. And right now we're just really seeing the cream of the crop be interested in JMU. And I think it's like Preston said, it's a testament to a number of things. It's its support staff, its resources, its facilities, and it's the general philosophy of the institution. So for me, it's always a challenging job to find the right coach, but it's a lot easier today. And I think we're in a much, much better place than we were 10 years ago. And I think it's the trajectory of the program. And I believe it's where we'll continue to grow in the years ahead.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your patience as we keep working through questions. Let's go to Kaden Bridges.
Hey, Coach. First off, congratulations and welcome to JMU. Obviously you had a busy season yourself at Moorhead, but with JMU making some commotion just from the very start of the season, and as you mentioned earlier, just being impressed by the structure of the program, how much attention were you giving to JMU this season, if any? And if so, was there anything else that kind of stuck out to you before taking the head coaching job?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much for welcoming us here and congratulating. Yeah, I think it's a challenge, right? I think it's human nature to look ahead a little bit, you know, and I think growing where you're planted and being where your feet are two very real things that are a challenge. But yeah, I paid attention to JMU all year. Huge fan of Mark. You know, he and I have done a lot of similar things from a coaching standpoint. We've recruited a lot of the same players over the years. And, you know, I had it in the back of my mind that should we take care of business and have a great season, then, you know, maybe we're going to have more opportunities, and certainly keeping an eye on him and his season and the program. And, you know, maybe those two things would add up. But, you know, again, it goes back to being pursued, honestly. When those two things really matched up, talking to Jeff, and he said, hey, we've had our eye on you for a long time with anticipation that, you know, we're going to be, we could potentially have an opening, right, with the success that we're having. And that's a good problem to have. That's where you want to be as a program. And so when those things matched up, that, you know, I had an excitement level the moment that I got the call. I wouldn't say it was something I thought about all year, but it was certainly in the back of my mind that it would be an exciting opportunity if it would have presented itself.
All right, let's go to Daniel Merriman.
For Coach B, first off, congratulations on becoming a Duke. And secondly, when we take a look at your Moorhead schedule from this past year, you play the opening game against Alabama, short thereafter, Purdue, Penn State is listed in there, as well as Indiana. What is your philosophy towards scheduling, and how do you plan to bring that to James Madison?
Well, you know, there's going to be a lot of different parameters that we had coaching at that level that really control your schedule to an extent that are going to be different here, right? But I will tell you, looking at the teams that you mentioned, you know, two teams that are in the Final Four last year, we played within the first 5 days of the season. We want to challenge ourselves. We want to put our program on display on the national level, and we want to see where we're at, and we want to see if we can win those games. And that's not going to change. You know, I will tell you that Mark would probably tell you the same thing. Scheduling, when you're having the type of success that we've had at Morehead State and now at JMU, it's not real easy, right? You don't get a lot of return phone calls from a lot of schools. And so it is a huge challenge. And oftentimes when you're talking about the Power 5 level schools that we all want to play for those various reasons, the ones that are near the bottom or projected to be, they don't want to play you as often, right, as eagerly. And I'm okay with that, and I understand it. And so that's going to be a great challenge. And so what it leaves you with when you're putting your schedule together is playing at Alabama, you know, playing at Purdue and Penn State and all of those. But as you see, those things prepare you for postseason. They poke some holes in your game plan. They let you figure out and learn about your team. But then they ultimately get you ready for what matters the most, and that's that 18 conference games. And then they ultimately prepare you for the postseason tournament, and then get you ready for the, you know, should you have the opportunity to play in March Madness again. And so I think you look at our schedule we played last year, we were just shy of, you know, really competing for that Big Ten South Division title, playing four Big Ten teams on our schedule last year, including, you know, playing Illinois in the tournament there. But All of those things prepare you. They're all a part of our process of getting better and learning about our team. And so that's going to continue here. I do think that, regionally, we're in such a wonderful location here at JMU that we can get to a lot of places and we can attract a lot of people who want to come and play in the AUBC. They want to be a part of that environment. And so we're going to dive in. We're going to see exactly where the schedule is, what contracts are still there and what ones we have a chance to do something new with, but we're certainly not going to run from competition. I don't, road games are great. I'll be honest with you, they ain't a whole lot better than getting on that bus going into somebody else's arena and ruin their weekend. I like that. And we're not going to run from that opportunity, and we're going to be excited for it.
Thank you very much, Coach. And for Mr. Bourne, this year has been quite tumultuous with both extremely high highs and also several hirings that you've had to do following successful seasons. Can you speak to how this retirement year has been for you personally?
It's not quite the year that I was expecting as my last year. But overall, it's really been just, in the end, overwhelming. And it's just created some great memories. For me, in my role, when you get an opportunity to experience the type of win-loss seasons and the accolades our student athletes get academically, and to go on and see what they get to do with their lives. And then you get to be around watching a new regime of extremely talented coaches come into the environment. For me, it's very positive and uplifting because I think in the end, it validates what we've all worked so hard for over the years, is to get our program to the level where it is today. And to me, it's sort of the exclamation mark on the end of the paragraph. Could not be happier. I still believe there's no better time to turn this job over to somebody new than today. But I'm looking forward to it, and I'm just really excited about our future.
Thank you, Mr. Bourne.
I'm going to throw in one last really quick question before we wrap up, and that's on the fan base. Preston, we've 4 years ago, we closed our old arena averaging 2,000 fans a game, opened the new arena. We're averaging 5,000 a game now. And media that we saw in New York and Brooklyn that don't usually see JMU, we as staff got so many comments about the JMU fans who were there at Barclays Center. What, if any, impact did that have on you, seeing the strength of the JMU fan base, and just looking forward to being part of that moving forward?
That's a great question. It was huge. It's huge. You talk about the momentum and you talk about the foundation. Those things are in place. I'm not going to pretend like I get to walk in the door and put this, nice purple polo on and everybody's just going to keep showing up. I get that. There's going to be work to be done. But you're talking to a guy that's gone to the dining commons at noon on game day and stood on a table and blown a whistle and made a fool out of myself. You're talking to a guy who will take his entire staff and his team to all the Greek meetings throughout the course of the night and get them excited and make them a part of it. And so the fact that foundation, that momentum is already there is extremely exciting because it's hard. It's a hard challenge to build a fan base and to make people want to keep coming out. At the end of the day, winning helps, right? And so we're going to have to do our part and make sure that we're winning, and we're going to do that. But we're going to be engaged with our fans. We're going to allow them to have an intimate feel with our players, and that's just not the students. I was blown away by the number of students that you guys have had and how many student tickets, additional tickets were bought. That was a stat that I never thought existed. That was thrown out to me by the great Jeff Poglaze when I was on my visit, and I was just like, I didn't know that was even a thing. And, that's exciting, right? That people want to be a part of this. And so I can promise you, we're going to allow them to be a part of it. My family and my staff, we're going to be out in the community. You're going to see us. Like I said, some of my guys are there now. I'm going to be there as early as Monday, and come talk to us. Come ask us. Come tell us why you love JMU. Come tell us what we can do for you to come be a part of the things that you do and the things that you care about, because we want this to be more than just a basketball program. We want this to just be more than what you show up to a couple times a week for a couple of hours. You know, we wanted this to be a part of the culture of the university, and so that everyone who gets that degree, they come back with a great sense of pride, or and you know, enjoy a great product that's on the court, and they enjoy getting to know the people that are there. You know, we want to be the program that when we're traveling throughout the country, that I'm going to, you know, put Jeff's staff to work right here. You know, let us know how many alums are living in a 100-mile radius when we go to play at Alabama. Let's get those people there. Let's get them to shoot around. Let's let them come out and rebound for the guys and get to know them on a personal basis. Those things matter. And if I'm being honest, there's not every place in the country that you can do that. You can still do that here. We're the perfect balance of having, you know, Power 5 level resources, but we've got, you know, mid-major accessibility. And that's important to me. And we're going to make sure that we continue that throughout the great fan base that's already in place.